traction is going to have issues. People are going to think, you know what, they're never going to build that park. Why should I help them? I'm not going to make a donation. I made a donation 4 years ago. So not only just to try to correct that mentality and make sure that everybody understands the magnitude of what it is and what an undertaking it is, but to also just be able to get the word out of things that the association is doing and things that they could do out to the general public. So what we did was the initial small group of people said, well, obviously we need to make this of the community. So we sent invitations out to pretty much everybody and anybody that we can think of that was a representative within the community. Must have gotten out of order here. We actually wrote it into our bylaws that we would then, once this association was formed, we would then do this every single year. So the thought was, in order to involve everybody from the community, involve everybody that you can from the opportunity standpoint as well. So we did that initially, and then we also decided we'll do that every single year. That isn't this annual meeting, but we'll have another meeting at the end of October where we'll actually, all of us resign our positions basically and put it out back to the same people to say, hey, let's vote somebody else in here again. Possibly that'll be the same people, but hopefully some other people will want to come and join in a little bit. But what the goal was with that was to find people to fill the positions to run the association. So obviously we needed somebody to head up the different committees, the construction, head of construction, the head of corporate donations, in-kind services, fundraising, grants, public relations. And we put it together in a typical corporation fashion where it's a board of directors basically. And each of the persons who head up a committee have a seat on that board, and then in addition to the seats of the committee members, there's a treasurer, a secretary, a vice president, and president, which is pretty typical. And believe it or not, these are all things that you actually have to define in writing when you go to the government and try to become a nonprofit organization. So that was the seats we were looking to fill, and what we did, like as I mentioned, we went out to the community, invited everybody to come to a meeting to elect persons out of that pool and to fill those positions. Initially, this wouldn't be there, but in the future, the past and present LARA members would be invited to that meeting, past committee members, the officers, the board of directors, and any volunteers would obviously be invited. Most of these were invited in the original meetings and get-togethers. We went to local recreational organizations. We invited the local charities, local civic organizations, fire halls and schools, local government. We invited every municipality and their supervisors to attend and come to that meeting. All of the local churches, and then all of the local businesses within the Lakeview area. Now, if you don't see your name up here, I do apologize. We tried to get everybody on the slide. Everybody is intended to be invited, and if for some reason you know anybody that wasn't, let us know so we can get them on that list. But out of that pool was where the original elected members came from. So we didn't just get together and decide, hey, we're going to be this and we're going to start this. We, some of us got together and pushed that, but then we were actually elected at that meeting, nominated and elected at that meeting to fill those positions. Myself, Jim Barish, and serve as the committee president. Scott Lewis is our vice president. Renee Jenkins, who couldn't be here tonight, she's traveling on business, is our treasurer. For our secretary, up until recently, was Lisa Armstrong, and due to some personal reasons, she's no longer able to serve on the committee, so that position is currently open. Heading up grants is Dave Canyon. Construction is headed up by Scott Kranak, who some of you might know from football. He's also on his way, but he's a professional engineer and got stuck in a meeting this afternoon. In-kind services, up until recently, was also held by Rich Cannon, and he's taken on a new job and also isn't going to be able to serve the time anymore, but he was formerly in that position. Fundraising is headed up by Mike Jenkins, and Mr. Ray Van Dusen is in charge of public relations. Now, what was interesting, and this wasn't even planned, but once we kind of got to know each other, and some of us didn't know each other at all at that point in time, was that we found that it was a very professional group of people, and everybody had some unique experiences in their professional and or personal lives that lent themselves well to what we were doing. Scott Lewis, who's our vice president, is a principal environmental scientist for Tennessee Gas. He helps us with a lot of our environmental compliance issues. Renee Jenkins heads up accounting and support services management for USIS Corporation. Dave Canyon works at the former Warner Ladder Corporation. He's a member of the Sandy Lake Masons. Scott Kranak, who heads up construction, is as I mentioned, a professional engineer for an engineering firm in Pittsburgh. He was pretty suited to take up construction for us. Kevin Watts is the Vice President of the Lobster Cheese Company. Rich Cannon, who was formerly on there, owned his own drafting company and knew a lot of the area contractors, so he was a good fit for the in-kind services at that point. Mike Jenkins works for Chevron Corporation, heading up fundraising, and Ray Van Dusen's the VP of Operations at CBS Windows and the head of public relations. And the reason I'm kind of bragging about these guys a little bit is I think it's important because not only are we coming to the community and asking for help and asking for people to help work with us or help donate to us, but we're also managing funds that through whether donations or fundraising or through state money that we have responsibility for. So we wanted everybody to be assured that the current sitting board is very well suited to be able to manage these things. As we got into this too, then we all also realized this isn't what we do full-time for our professional lives, so we needed to educate ourselves a little bit and kind of develop a business plan for the association, which is what we did. We actually authored and operate by a 40-page set of corporate bylaws. We have established a strategic business plan to which to operate the association from. We created accounting and funds disbursement guidelines to manage ourselves. We require 2 or 3 signatures on certain levels of checks so that the board is always involved. You can never have one person on the board of the committee going making a large decision on his own. We authored articles of incorporation registered with the state as a nonprofit corporation. We established membership in the Bureau of Charitable Organizations, and we're working on launching an interactive website. We are state incorporated as a nonprofit today. We are so all federally compliant 501c exempt company. We're fully bonded. The officers in the organization is bonded for $250,000. That way anybody could feel comfortable making donations, that there's a little bit of protection there. And the association is fully insured, so when we're doing construction or maybe we're doing some volunteer services, cleaning up some things at the site, you can rest assured that if something were to happen, it would certainly be taken care of. So the organization is very fiscally responsible. As far as education, we attended state grant workshop sessions to learn how do you go about going after these DCNR and other grants. We met with the Regional Planning Commission, consulted with the County Commissioner's Office, consulted with Representative Michelle Brooks, at that time as a commissioner and later as area representative. We got together and consulted with Bob Robbins. We introduced our group to all of the local municipalities, let them know who we are, what we were willing to do, and offered our services to help them should they want to try to attack a recreation project in their municipality. We consulted with local landscape architects, legal advisors, financial advisors. We sought professional opinions, even though we had professionals running our board. We sought outside opinions to make sure that we were doing all of this in a correct manner. So now that we got the group together, and I told you all the boring stuff about the business side of things, obviously it's time to talk a little bit about what is it that we are doing. We have been doing this, although to the naked eye may not appear like a whole lot of progress is going on, but for over the last year and a half to almost 2 years, we've been working very diligently and have made a lot of accomplishments. We have 2 projects. The one that you guys all know about is the Jack Jones Memorial Complex. And then the one you may not know about is we recently took over and offered to help the Borough of Stoneboro build the Stoneboro Skate Park, which was, you guys like the corny flaps, that's pretty cool. Which was a project they were also trying to do for several years, and just because of how difficult it is to run a municipality, they didn't have time to concentrate on this. So our association stepped in and offered to take the grant over and manage that project for them as well. So what I'm going to do, rather than just drone on me and make you listen to me all night, that would be absolute torture. I'm going to let each of the persons who head up these committees come up here, introduce themselves to you, just give you a brief overview of what the committee does and what they've accomplished over the last year as that committee toward these projects, and kind of what we want to accomplish this year and let you know where we're at. Keep in mind, one of the reasons we like to invite everybody out to these things too is obviously we want additional persons to help us. We do need more help. You see represented the board up here tonight. You don't see a lot of committee members who are also serving on these other committees, but we do need more of those persons. So as we're going through these, maybe just kind of keep in mind what they are and try to think to yourself if you'd like to be involved in the project, help us make a difference, which one of them you might like to be involved with.